thank you, Marina, and I would like to invite my panelists to join me on the stage. So yes, lately it was a discussion that governments are usually, and Tom also emphasized that governments are not so active when it comes to developing tourism or supporting tourism. So obviously, yes, VAT is important topic, but also with this panel and with my esteemed panelists today, we are also trying to change this narrative that governments are not involved at all into the tourism and investment cycle. Reason for today's panel and why I have here my panelists is basically exactly to discuss about how governments are supporting, how governments and what governments are doing in order to support investors and to streamline hospitality and tourism investment cycle. So I'm super energized and super happy to have on board today two ladies from Albania, Florensa. I have Stephanie from Cyprus and Marinos from Greece. All of those countries are interesting in one or another way. Some of them are small, some of them are emerging, some of them are big. But all in all, they have all in common that those governments decided to have specific entity basically to support investment activity. So I would basically start with ladies first, obviously, and also knowing that we are the last panel before the lunch. It's a matter of life or death, so we will definitely end on time, or at least try to do it so. So Florensa, could you obviously, there was a lot of discussions about mentions about Albania as a new market in the Mediterranean context. So you are coming from Albanian Investment Corporation. Could you just give the audience idea what Albanian Investment Corporation stands for and what is your mission? How are you basically supposed to help investors?
Thank you. So greetings to everyone. The Albanian Investment Corporation, it's a kind of institution that operates as a private company, but the own shareholder is the state. So the idea is to have an institution that acts as a private sector player, but it's financed from the state in order to promote investments and to attract foreign investments mainly. We already have an agency that is promoting investments in Albania, which is called IDEEA, is Albanian Investment Development Agency, which does promotions. But what we do differently is that we enter into partnership with the private investor, so either local or foreign investor. This was a new idea that came up in 2018, if I'm right now. That we needed this kind of arm of the government that partners with investors in order to develop projects together. Our main mission is to develop the underutilized state assets, that we have a lot of those assets that are just staying there, the investors until now, they don't have an interest for them because of many reasons. One of the reasons might be because there are a lot of bureaucracies to take them, or another reason might be that these assets are not attractive a lot for them because they don't have an access road, they don't have supporting infrastructure so that the investor would come. So what we do, the idea is to promote these state assets, to develop them at a certain point that they are attractive for the investor, and then to open an expression of interest for investors, where we say that this is the asset, this is the project we have developed, this is the analysis that we have done that this asset has the return on investments relatively fast. We enter in partnership together. We put the equity in this partnership with the value of the asset, with the pre-investment cost that we have done so far for the asset, and then the investment comes with the investment money. And we are in this journey together. We deal with all the bureaucratic issues that the investor might have on the side of the government. So this is the idea of the Albanian Investment Corporation, just in a nutshell.
Yeah, thank you so much. Stephanie, the same question for you actually. Invest Cyprus and how you actually help and support tourism projects.
Hello everyone, it is a real pleasure to be here today. Yes, indeed, Invest Cyprus operates in the same way as Albanian Investment Corporation. We are based on a private company's law, but the only shareholder is the government. So we're the government's organization, we're the government's investment authority to facilitate and attract FDI in the country. Just very briefly, for those who don't know where Cyprus is, we're a European Union country since 2004. We are not Central European located, as it's the topic of the conference today, but we are the closest EU country to the Middle East and Asia. So that's what differentiates us, I would say, when you think that we're only a 3 hours catchment area away from major markets such as in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, etc. So what Invest Cyprus is doing, we are based on a threefold mandate. First is to raise awareness on Cyprus, to do business, and as a location for investment, is to facilitate and support investors and businesses to expand in the country. And the third, it's to advocate for reform. We also submit suggestions to the government to make the investment framework more favorable for investors. I'm the head of strategic projects. At Invest Cyprus, we have created the so-called project bank. What is a project bank? Is a portfolio of available investment opportunities, mainly greenfield opportunities, in the sectors that fall under the priorities for the government, with tourism and hospitality being priority number one. Recently, we have also implemented, passed the law for strategic investments, which actually limits bureaucratic procedures and licenses new developments, new projects that fall under these strategic sectors of the government in just a few months.
Thank you, Stephanie. The same question for you, Marinos. Enterprise Greece, you are long-standing on the market, already well-known, but just quick intro, how you basically support tourism and hospitality investors.
Of course. Maybe start by thanking you for the question, and thanks for Marina for organizing the event as well here. We are Enterprise Greece. We are the official trade, the promotion agency and investment agency of the Greek state. We are under the auspices of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We're situated just above Cyprus, just to get you where we are. Especially what we do is we act as a consultancy, if you like, to anything that has to do with attracting investments in Greece, while at the same trying to promote exports and any other export-related trade infrastructure for countries outside of Greece. We have a different set of rules as the strategic investments, as Cyprus mentioned. We have a promotion, a specific dedicated promotion investment team for different sectors. We overlook all the sectors that can someone invest in Greece. And we are responsible for using the network of the Foreign Ministry of Foreign Affairs, like the embassies, the commercial attaches, which we have today with us, the commercial attaché from the Czech Republic in Prague. So we actually, because we don't have offices yet outside of Greece, we're trying to use that network to actually be able to gain that local knowledge and help Greek companies trade with other countries. But the main thing is we are a consultancy. We don't charge for what we do. We offer any kind of help, from legal framework to laws to being consultancy to the government, if you like. We have taken investors by the hand, take them around the ministries, hear what the problems were, what they're facing, the difficulties they're facing, trying to get them through any kind of difficulties so they can invest in Greece. Of course, that's been helped with the Greek situation that now it will be going really well, the economy, which we can talk about it later if you like. But overall, that's what we do as an agency.
Thank you. Speaking about Greece and investment, so to say, investment activity today or recently, how do you see investment climate or investment cycle when it comes to tourism and hospitality in Greece? Is it upwards going? Is it stagnating? What's the status of investment activity in Greece as we speak?
Definitely. I mean, tourism accounts for 30% of the Greek GDP. So it's something that we focus a lot of our efforts. That's, tourism and real estate goes hand in hand. So for us, it's a major part of what we do. Let me start by saying that we last week we've been upgraded to investment grade by both Fitch and S&P and Moody's. So it means now that we have even more investor funds that want to come and invest in Greece and are eligible to do so for our risk profile. It's been Greece, I think it has been a success story. We had a positive surplus GDP last year, and all the numbers indicate that this year will be positive as well. Basically, what it shows stability, and I think that's where it begins. When you have stability in a country, and you can, the investors knows that can plan for the 5-10 year ahead. It shows, that you can invest in a country. That being said, we have invested a lot of infrastructure, and actually we've been changed legislation for different parts, from mixed use for residential and touristic usage. We're trying to speed up process. We're trying and fast track the process where we can. Digitalization. So all of this together build the environment so for the investor to come and try and help it. In an ideal world, enterprise Greece will be needed in a sense to guide the investors, but that's where we are, and I think because we go hand in hand with the government, I think it's something really important for us.
When you look at the total investment cycle currently in Greece, what would you assess to be FDI? What you think is or what you say is local investors in percentages? Relationship approximately?
I mean, the total FDI was 7.2 billion for 2022. The real estate alone, I think it was 2 billion, and I think the inward, if I'm not mistaken, was 1.2, if I'm not saying something like that. But what the amazing part is that when you build the infrastructure, and then as I think we talked about it off mic before, that we're having efforts. We have the specific Hellenic Asset Development Fund, for example, that goes into privatization. So the state is actively looking to even the environment and try and bring even more projects in line. So for bigger investors to come, have bigger tickets for infrastructure project, for marinas project, for different, just the 4- and 5-star hotels, which is a big part of it. And just the last 5 years, there have been 150 new 5-star hotels in Greece. But it's just the whole package of what we offer, apart from just a building and the sun and the sea.
Perfect, thank you so much. Moving to Cyprus, the same question basically goes to you. How would you currently assess the Cyprus status of the investment cycle? Is it growing, decreasing?
Let me start by saying that Cyprus is an island, therefore a touristic destination. And I mean, after the COVID era, let's say, Cyprus had to come through the health and economic crisis as a touristic destination. Even though a lot of the GDP is based on the tourist sector, Cyprus has proven to be resilient against the crisis, marking a 5.6% on the GDP compared to 3.7% on the EU average. Now, in 2023, we see that we're slowly back to 2019 levels in terms of tourism performance, meaning that arrivals and revenues are very close to the 2019 picture, showing Cyprus being a clear leader in terms of growth. And in the same context, we see that investment flows is growing and growing, maybe because investors now have actually been looking for opportunities that come out of the crisis, meaning in existing hotel assets, but also we do see investment into new developments. And
foreign versus international? Foreign versus domestic?
Mainly international investors. Okay, many hotels in Cyprus are family-owned businesses. We do have big local hotel groups that invest and create their own assets, but we also see a growing appetite coming from international investors. And just to tell you as well, I don't know how many of you might know that, but Cyprus is home to the largest and only integrated casino resort in Europe. Actually, there's no other integrated casino resort in Europe. Cyprus was chosen among the 27 EU countries by the casino giant Melco International. City of Dreams has added 500 rooms in the island, and it's part of the efforts as well to make Cyprus an all-year-round destination. So that was one of the big investments that happened in Cyprus, 600 million euros. Now we do see a lot of activity going into new hotels and hotels acquisitions. But talking about FDI, in 2022, we had 25 new building permits for new hotels, around 95 million euros of new investment. Yeah.
Thank you, Stephanie. And now, moving to Albania. 3-4 years ago, no one spoke about Albania. Last year, this year, everyone writes and talks about Albania. So what's happening actually? I guess that you can share with us also this kind of optimism when it comes to investment cycle in Albania. Who are currently investors, and what's happening in Albania in that context?
Albania has emerged like as a hidden gem, they call it. And we're very glad for that because Albania has 316 kilometers of coast. And the coast is a mixture between sandy beaches and also rocky and Ionian Sea beaches. But beside the coast, there are also the landscapes, the mountain areas, so it's a diversity. So for the tourists, this is a kind of, and we were talking a couple of hours ago about experiences. So Albania offers this kind of holistic experience where you have the beaches, but you have also the nature, and there is a lot of cultural heritage, historic heritage. So saying this, Albania has a lot to offer. Until now, some years ago, it was not known because of many reasons, but now the time has come that people know Albania, not only the tourists, but also investors. We have seen a boom, of course, these 2 last years. It was something that it was beyond our expectations. I think there were 7.2 million tourists coming in Albania from January to August this year. So a lot of tourists coming. This has also grown the appetite of investors, of course. There are a lot of big players present in Albania and also in process of getting the license. The reasons why they have come is also because of the incentives and the pro-business policies that the government has taken through these years. We have a strategic investment law giving a lot of incentives, tax breaks for big companies, especially 4- and 5-star hotels. They get...
you have also tax exemption for
tax
5-star
exemption,
hotels, right?
yes, a VAT reduction, tax exemption for property, license, tax exemption from income tax. So they have a lot of incentives. So this, of course, has been one of the reasons, but not only that. As I said, there is a whole package that they see. We have brands like Plaza, Marriott, we have Melia, also many others in the process of licensing like IHG. We have many, everyone is coming. So Intercontinental is almost finished. So it's a boom, of course. We need to now to see how we are going to handle that, of course, all this boom. We are working on the policies and development policies for hospitality industry for the years to come, where we want to position ourselves. Of course, we need to have a good strategy on how we brand Albania. Do we want to be like in the upscale luxury brand name, or do we want to be somewhere in the middle? So we are exploring that option. Of course, Albania is divided like in 2 parts. The south probably is more luxurious destination, and the other middle and northern part are more middle and long income destinations. So we'll see how we are going through the years to come, but of course there is a lot of potential.
Yeah, thank you. You mentioned also that you are basically developing projects, that you actually operate as a private company, so you enter into the equity. So what kind of projects are you, did you start to develop projects? Are you developing? What kind of projects you see that you could offer to investment market?
Okay, we have been operational since mid-2021. So let's say that it's very little time to say that we have already started a project and we are developing it. We have, of course, projects in pipeline that are almost ready to start. We have identified projects in tourism. We have identified projects in energy, industry, manufacturing, and also projects in agriculture. In tourism, we are mainly focused in those protected areas, natural parks, developing them in a sustainable way. We have a big project in Divjaka region, which is somewhere in the middle, in the coast. It has a big laguna region. And we have there a project that really it's a big one. It's about 50 hectares as a starting point, but it's a whole region. It's almost like the whole Tirana, which is the capital region. And there we want to do something like a mix between hospitality and residential area, but you also involve the people that are staying there, like farmers. You have the solar panels, no cars around, so you leave the car outside and you just enter the area. So it's a very beautiful concept. Of course, what we do is we develop this idea, and then we, as I said, we open the expression of interest for investors to see if they like the idea, if they want to change something, because they might have a better idea, which we're open for that too. And then we negotiate together and see how we start with the project, what kind of steps we take together, etc.
Thank you so much. Stephanie, moving towards you, you mentioned the project bank. Obviously, Invest Cyprus is a company with longer existence. So I guess that you also have investment projects. And what are your experiences? Are those projects attractive to investors? How successful you are to attract new investors through those projects that you basically create?
Yeah, well, we have created the project bank early 2021, and we started a campaign to project owners, local project owners, to contact us and be part of this portfolio. So what we have done is that we look into the feasibility studies and business plan and make our assessment, and whether this project falls under the priorities of the government and whether it's a strategic investment, then it's part of our project bank. Examples of these projects include whatever falls under the medical tourism segment, let's say, rehabilitation, resorts with assisted living facilities, new hotels, sports resorts, other projects in renewable energy, of course, and whatever comes with the sustainability target. Yes, we do see interest coming from specific big funds that are now evaluating some project, and also part of our efforts targeting strategic countries and the sovereign wealth funds, meaning Saudi Arabia and the UAE. We do see also interest coming from these big investors looking in the country. Also, the government has introduced specific grants and subsidies when it comes to this type of projects, because we want to start, let's say, being away from the sun and sea model and showcasing Cyprus as an all-year-round destination. So we have introduced a specific subsidy scheme for new projects under the health and wellness and tourism, let's say health and wellness projects, sports, conference tourism, and also in the renovation of existing tourist establishments. And lastly, and talking to investors, Cyprus has a very attractive taxation scheme. There is no wealth tax, no property tax, no withholding taxes. So in terms of the taxation, it's again something that attracts investors as well.
How easy is, basically, a lot of governments are talking, yeah, we have a lot of those things, but then when it comes, yeah, I want to utilize this opportunity, then somehow it's hard to get. Is it easy to get those exemptions in Cyprus?
Yes, these are actually new grants that have just been announced, and now we'll take them into force and see how it will work. Yeah, Cyprus as an EU country derives, let's say, funding from EU funds, and this is what we utilize for new projects, and this is what goes into the goals of national strategies, let's say. And these grants are also part of the national strategy of tourism that we have implemented as government. So yes, I would say that it's something that will be very easily implemented for investors.
Okay, Marinos, moving to you regarding those investment incentives, what Greece is giving or offering to investors to choose to invest into Greece other than some other regional competitors?
Definitely. First of all, let me start by saying what we do have as well, a strategic investment dedicated law called Fast Track in Greece. which apart from having certain qualitative criteria that, depending on the amount of what the investment is, you can get different set of incentives. I think the first one and the most important one is the fast track. Basically, your folder goes through all the licensing and everything goes on top of all the other projects once it gets the status of strategic investment. The second one, and having an audience regarding hotels and real estate, it's we have a dedicated special tool that can allows you to even build in a bigger space or have different, it goes on top of the existing land registry in Greece. So because it's strategic investment, it allows you, within limits of course, to do more. And then we have cash grants and tax incentives as well, depending on what you're doing on the size of the investment. But I think what makes it a bit more unique is that we can use that in combination with EU funds. That being said, we all know the recovery facility, the RRP from the EU grant. Greece has secured around 30 billion of that, which 12 billion will go to infrastructure built by the state, but the remaining will go into funding from the banks to the investors. So you can get both cash grants, at the same time you go to a bank and get a stable interest rate, which I think is something that all of us are interested to hear, for the duration of the project. On a low interest rate, I think it's 1% now, just for the loan side of the project. So that in combination with the incentives and the availabilities for funding, like lower interest rates, I think is an amazing opportunity for Greece. Apart from having obviously all the low value of the actual properties that being in comparison with other countries like Spain or Italy that have been saturated, but they've been doing it for a longer time, I think the returns can be greater down the line in Greece.
Thank you so much. I would like also to open floor to any questions from the audience. Okay, the question from Scott.
The nightmare and the benefits of working in the worst tourism authority in the world, which is Russia, and the best tourism authority in the world, which is Dubai, where they build castles in the sand. I'd like to ask Greece, I can't say for Cyprus, and Albania. Maybe it's a stereotype, but traditionally you're known as very bureaucratic, somewhat corrupt countries. If I'm building a hotel and I have problems getting construction permits, utility connections, environmental permits, can I call you? And what will you do? Do you have an ombudsman you assign me? Because that's pretty important.
Yes, first of all, we act as an ombudsman. That's why we are as a consultant. I said at the beginning of when I started that we do what we do, and it's with no charge to any of the funds. We have cases that we actually took the investor by the hand. We went to ministries with a health problem with the planning and the land registry licensing, and we actually sat down with them and see what the issue was and trying to solve it. Yes, this used to be a problem. It's the testament to that is now we have big funds. I'll give you an example. Nowadays we have Goldman Sachs that have actually invested in a big hotel, which actually got funding and got the money out of that investment, and they're actually starting their own chain of hotels from Greece. I think that's a testament of having a big, huge investor from the US with all the due diligence that goes behind that, right, to be able to invest in Greece. Of course, not perfect. We're trying to cut the red tape. We try to digitize everything. We're getting there. Every day, more and more things are added. And as I said before, like if everything was perfect, we wouldn't be needed. But we're there to help, and whatever issue you might have, we're more than happy to hear you out.
Stephanie or Florence?
Yeah. Okay.
They have a problem. Okay.
Sorry?
Cyprus admits they have issues. Okay.
No, I think Marinos has covered everything. Yeah, it's true that I'm not going to hide it. There's a lot of bureaucratic procedures when it comes to licensing a new investment. Hopefully, now with this law of strategic investments, in the range of 6 to 12 months, a project will be fully licensed in Cyprus. What we do as Invest Cyprus is, yes, we can still intervene in the process, even about strategic investments, up to the President of the Republic, and put down the reasons why this investment should be licensed fast. So we have introduced this fast-track procedure of licensing projects, but as Invest Cyprus, yes, we will do whatever we can to facilitate the investor.
And also in Albania, we have the same, the agency that is almost the same with the agency that there is in Greece. They have this fast-track procedure when they take by hand the investor. So we have the strategic law, investment law, that gives all this kind of steps and licensing and property issues, etc. They deal on the side of the government. On the other hand, we have the law on Albanian Investment Corporation, because we are established by our own law. And if the investor chooses to do the investment with us, then we take the whole burden of the bureaucratic and all the issues that the investor might have with the government, and we deal with that. So, and of course, we are partner with the investor, so this gives a little bit more security to the investor in order, because he has the equity of the government inside the investment project.
Okay, we have another question in the first row.
My question is toward Albania. You mentioned that a couple of questions. So first, you mentioned that you're planning to decide if you're going to position yourself in the mid-scale or the upper-scale segment. How are you going to do this? What is the idea behind this? Because it's interesting. The second question is, if I understand right, you're partnering with the investors by giving land, by helping with the documentation, and etc. You're becoming a partner with a share in these entities, and what is following then? You're selling these shares in a next stage, or you're keeping it as a dividend for the government? What is the idea behind the organization?
Okay, thank you for the question. Regarding the first question, of course, I'm not part of the Ministry of Tourism. They are doing the strategy, let's say, on what will be the brand of Albania in the next years. But from what I know is that we are going to do a full-scale due diligence to see on how to position Albania. And one way is to divide Albania in different zones. So you have, as I said, the south, which probably will be a premium, high-end tourism zone, of course, because of the investments that are already there. I mean, the prices are really high, so of course, people will do this division by themselves. And of course, to leave the other zones that are a bit more in the middle and northern Albania, you know, more medium or low income, low scale. But this is a process, so it's going on, and it will go on until, and we hope before the upcoming season we'll have something done. But the Ministry of Tourism is doing that. So. Regarding the second question, of course, we enter with shares in the investment, with shares that we value the value of the asset, of all the pre-investment costs that we do, because there might be a substantial cost there when there is the need for a road or electricity, etc. So when we do we sign the deal with the investor, we see, for example, of course, we'll be a minority because the investment probably will be higher. We might be 20, 30%, 15%. Then what happens next, it's up to us. I mean, the law that we operate is open, and this is why we did the law like that. We have the option to sell the shares, and we move out. We have the options to reinvest the dividends. We take the dividends and we invest in other projects. So it's open. Of course, it's an exercise that we haven't done so far. We are, as I said, we are like a startup. We are only 3 years old. But we'll see. But it's open, I mean.
And you don't have a project management fee for dealing with the government? I think in many countries, especially in the Balkans, the project management of facilitating the documentation is the biggest hassle.
No, we don't have a project management fee because, as I said, if we enter in this project, we also decide that we are going to manage, we convert that into shares, so we're partnering that.
Okay, thank you. So, since we are very tight with time, I have just one question, and referring to Danny and his first, presentation. So, if you had one of those 33 billion which have been stolen one way or another or transferred from one country to another to invest into one of destination or one project in your own countries, what would it be and why? Maybe I'll start with Marinos, because this is the...
The whole of 33 billion or
Yeah.
part of it?
No, just one part, smaller part, obviously. So are there any hidden gems in your countries?
There's always opportunities. I think the main thing is what we're trying to do, with the government is trying to do, is get investments outside of Athens. Obviously, Athens is concentrated in a huge degree. That's why the further out you go, the better percentage of grants you get. So I think that's where it's going to spread out. It's going to spread out to the edge of Athens, all the islands, further away from Athens, and then kind of wherever the green transition is happening, because we had all the digitization of the old factories that used to burn coal, and I think those are the ones that suffer a lot. So I think that's where infrastructure and new kind of investment is to take place, so they can start to flourish again and have that old appeal that people go there to work and go to schools and everything. I think infrastructure and outside of Athens.
Okay, Stephanie, what about your thoughts?
Yeah, 33 billion is definitely a lot for Cyprus. We're a country of less than 1 million population. Yeah, I would definitely invest into the rural areas of Cyprus. One thing I would say, because Cyprus, because of the short distances, you can be at the beach and at the same time be in the mountains, enjoy the snow, but in 25 degrees you can still swim at the beach. So that's, let's say, investment and rejuvenation of the rural areas would attract more investors and more tourists in the low season months, let's say, that will be to battle to seasonality. And also, I think that there are now projects that are in mixed-use real estate, I would say, development, to cover the needs of the boom that has come from the tech companies in Cyprus. So I think this is where the demand is, not so related with the tourism, but they are well connected, and I mean, the flow of the tech companies as well has brought opportunities for other investments as well.
Thank you so much. And Florensa?
Yes. I think that I would develop the northern part of Albania, also the middle part, because the south is already being developed and there is a lot of attention. So I would focus there. There are a lot of natural beauties and landscapes there that we need to develop further, but I would not develop like one by one as they are developing the hotels there, but develop the whole zone with a whole master plan. So you engage also the communities there. So it's bigger projects, not anymore smaller, sporadic hotels all over the parts. So this is what I would do.
Thank you so much. Since we are out of time, I would basically thank all of you for your thoughts and everything that you shared. And thank you, everyone.